This is wax painting. It gives you the opportunity to make all kinds of amazing abstract designs or landscapes. It's just an unending exploration of color and flow and design, and you will never, ever get bored because it is endless. Once you start, it's like an addictive process that you just can't stop finding different ways to put these designs together. So, with that said, we'll dig into the process and learn about the tools and see if you can't get inspired to jump in and just discover for yourself what you can accomplish by melting wax, watching it flow onto the paper, and then be amazed at what you create. Let's get started.
Okay, let's talk about the tools that you need to use when you're doing encaustic with this method. This isn't the only method, but this method that I use, I kind of call it the European style because I learned from Michael Bossum in Wales, and it's very popular in Europe. It's done with hot tools. So this is the the tools that I use. Basically, the iron is the main one. I use this the most, is the iron. When you want details, you use a stylus. The iron, the thing to know, this particular iron, now I know you could go looking for other irons, you can try other irons, there's no right or no wrong. I say experimentation is the thing, but this particular encaustic iron is kind of neat. The handle comes off and it can be used as a hot plate as well, because there is a method of painting on hot paper that we'll talk about. But for now, mostly we'll use it in this method as an iron. I always say to take the cord and wrap it around your little finger. That'll help keeping it from getting pulled through the wax, the hot wax, as you're working. I always set the temperature at low. Now, you don't ever want the wax to smoke or get too hot, so you can adjust this up or down if you find, that temperature isn't right where you want it. This crack in the back is going to gather wax, liquid wax, as you work. And if you don't remember while you're working to take a moment every once in a while, grab some Kleenex and use it like this to burp your iron. And then that burps the melted wax out of this crack, because otherwise, as you're working, it might just burp right in the middle of your masterpiece. So those are some of the main things when you're working with the iron. You can use the edge of the iron to draw with. You can use the point of the iron to draw with. And the flat surface of the iron is just fabulous for making patterns. Now, you can work this way with your iron. At the same time, I like to work with melted wax on the iron this way and hold the paper above the iron and work that way as well. You don't waste as much of the wax when you're doing it this way, and I think it's a great way to do skies and some of the landscape. But I do like this method of painting with the wax on the hot iron and picking up the paper that way. As you put the iron down and lift it up, every time you lift it up, it will make interesting patterns on the surface. What's going on is that the wax is melted, you lift up the iron, air rushes in and moves the wax around in a pattern. Great method for making landscape effects, grasses and things like that. So that's something that you'll just play with and learn the patterns. Next we have a stylus. Now, the old-fashioned stylus looks the same, but this one had a screw that set all the points in, and you would take these out, put a new one in, tighten the screw. They don't make this one anymore, and they have replaced it with this one where all the points just screw in by themselves. So you screw the point in, and then you take another point, and they have a whole variety of points that you can get. They don't come with all the points. You have to order those separately. It'll come with a pen point and I don't have the point out, but it's a wide, flat point as something to work with. And so you'll end up wanting to get more points. But the pen point is one that you use all the time as far as drawing. So this gives you the detail when you want to do detail. What's nice about the new one is that it has an on-off switch on the handle with two different settings for temperature, because you see when you get a larger point like this and you put it in here, it takes more electric juice to heat this one up. So that's a really great add-on to have the two different temperatures. Okay, so that's the stylus. Another tool that I use a lot is a hot air gun. I just love to move wax around with hot air. So that's great for doing fantasy flowers, for instance. And we'll work with this to show you how it's done. So I think besides the wax comes in blocks like this, okay? The source that I use, I like this particular wax for one reason. It's small blocks because we don't use a lot of wax in what we do. We use thin coats of wax. Other methods use a lot of wax and it becomes very expensive. So I like using this process. So this wax is just about the right size for what we need. An encaustic wax has beeswax, Damar crystals, that's a tree resin, and a pigment, that's all. We don't have in these any volatile organic chemicals that are not good for you to be breathing. So that's why I like these particular waxes as well, where some of the other ones do, and then you need, to be more careful using those products. We will go taking a look at how these all behave with the wax and give you a little tutorial on how to work with it. So I hope this helps. This will be a beginning, okay? Okay, so let's start and play a little bit, okay? I always teach this small size. It's an A6 European size. And you might think, well, that's so small. True, but see, it's the size of your iron, pretty much. That means you have a chance to learn the patterns the iron can make, and you're not, wasting a lot of wax in the process, but you get to really zero in on the designs the iron makes, and so then you can translate that to a lot larger size surface when you want to. But this is a good way to get down and master those techniques on this size. Don't have to do it this way. That's just the way I teach it. So to begin with, I just always have people play like you're a kid. There is no right, there's no wrong. When I'm teaching a class, I tell them, you can listen to me or not. I just want you to have a good time and have fun. That's the whole purpose. So let's start with abstracts. You just have to put your iron down on the surface and pick it up, and you'll have a pattern. So that's an abstract to start with. But I'll give you one example of an abstract. You can make mandala patterns, like repeating patterns, and that's kind of a fun one to start with. So let's take a nice light color and get some of that right in the middle of the iron. And then we'll take another color and let's don't have to, I'm pretty much not a purist, so I don't really worry about getting the iron super clean. If you want your iron, you see that it's clean enough for me, but if you want it really clean, you take clear wax and put on clear wax and then wipe it and you'll get all the color off. But it's not something that I worry about. Okay, so then let's put a little color on this side here. See, so now you've got a little pattern started. And tell you what, just a minute here, let's see if I've got any right handy here. I just like to have, let's grab some of this. I'll just use another cardstock. I usually put my work on another surface to get the wax so it doesn't go on the table. But, so, now that you've got those two colors, why don't you think about putting a third color and starting to go around the card, making this pattern. See the pattern that's starting to show up under the iron? That's the pattern I was talking about. All right, so now we got that going on. We could actually come back and, let's just use some blue and put it just on the edge of the iron this way and come back and do the same thing, but just creating another just little pattern like that. All right, so that gives you an idea how you can do a simple little geometric pattern, little mandalas. So that gives you an idea of how you could start doing a little abstract painting. But anytime you take your iron, put some wax on it, lay it down, and pick it up, it's going to start making patterns. So that's the thing about, you just need to play like a kid and see what kind of patterns that you can develop and just enjoy that process. Okay, so you get tired of doing abstracts and you want to do something, let's say, like landscapes. Okay, let's grab some cards and say, if I could make, 4 or 5 skies. So let's do that. I'm going to put some blue, and I'm going to mix on my iron the colors. So I'm going to add a little of that, some of this, and then this blue. Okay, I'm going to hold up the card. I just want to paint on the upper part of the card this way, right in here. So I'm just going to come down like that. See? And just make a little sky. Okay, that'll be one. All right, put that aside. Let's do another one. So let's try this color and some of this color a little of this, and a little of that. Let's see what happens with this one. Okay, so let's make this guy here. Okay, here we go, like that. Got another sky. All right, put that aside. All right, let's grab another one, and let's do this again with this and white. Okay, and let's do this one here. Same thing. The reason I'm doing all these little skies is that I want to show you some of the different landscapes. Okay, this one is pretty white, you know. Okay, so let's see, what do we got? We got 3. Okay, let's stop with that for now, all right? Okay, what can we do with those skies? Let's take this one here. One pattern that's sort of tricky is what they call rolling hills, all right? What this takes is like, have you ever tried to rub your stomach and pat your head at the same time? That's kind of like this pattern. So what you have to do is you have to make a laying down. You want your iron to be this way to the card, not this way, but this way. You want it to be a laying down figure 8 like this, starting off the page, going off the page, and going down the page at the same time. Okay, and then the way you're going to want to load your iron is let's put some green in the middle, okay, of the iron. But let's take brown, and put it on this outer edge, which would be the top edge, which would be the top of your hills, okay? Now here we go. Let's give it a try and see if it works. Okay, we start off the page and we come over and down and around and up off the page and back over and around and up and around and back and over and back. And what it does is create a bunch of little hills going down. You can then just at the very bottom of the page, that isn't a very good example, I must admit, but you know, what the heck. That's the process. But let's take another color and come in here underneath and just begin to work underneath that pattern, doing some stamping like that. Then you start getting a little pattern that looks a little like grasses and things. And you can take and wipe the wax off and also stamp to enhance that pattern, okay? So that's one method, okay? That's what they call rolling hills. And that's a way to get some hills in the background that are rounded like that. That's one way. Okay, let's take another one and say, what could we do? We could make some mountains. So why don't we let's take some of this color, and there's this brown, maybe even a little black. And this time, let's just run the color straight down the card like that, okay? So now we've got all the wax in one layer, and now I'm going to take the edge of the iron and like a spatula, I'm just going to move that wax up like this, okay? I'm just going to move it up like that, okay? What it does is it gives us a line of wax right there, all right? So I'm going to take that line. I might even add a little bit more in there. I'll put some of this bright color in here. Just going to add a little bit more. Oh, I tell you, I don't know if I've got any of it out here. Well, I use silver a lot, but this is gold. I think I'll try putting a little gold in there while I'm at it. Put that into mix, all right? Okay. Now let's try moving that wax around a little bit. We'll take, I might as well take a different little color, put that on front. Now I'm going to use this part of the iron to push the wax up and come around and up again, like that. There, let's go over this way and back down. Okay, I think you get the idea. All right, so basically what I'm doing is I'm making a bunch of hills, okay, like that, sort of mountainy little peaks, right? Okay, so then on the foreground, again, we could take even something even different and just add, again, that landscape pattern in the foreground, just to kind of finish off your little landscape. So that's really easy, sweet little landscapes to make. Let's say you were going to try, let's say, what should we do? How about, let's say, do I have a nice reddish color out here? No, it's the same. Oh, well, we'll work with this one. So let's do the same thing. Let's put that wax down here in a pattern. Okay. Now we'll move it up. Okay. Like that. Then let's try to create a southwest look, okay? By taking the iron, we'll push this up a little bit like that, then come back down, come over here, move it up, come down. Yeah, let's see, let's come over here, up a bit, down and up. Okay, come over a little further. All right. This is a rough example, but this is giving you just a little hint, just to get a look at what you could get for a background that had a little look of Sedona. It would help to have used a little red color, but I'm just trying to show you the pattern, not so interested in making a fantastic work of art here, just want to give you an idea of patterns. Okay, so there you go. Just to give you a clue on different styles of landscapes. You can do water, you know, and all kinds of different looks that you can get this way. So that is kind of a good way for us to stop before we use the stylus. All right? Okay, well, let's take a look at the stylus and what it can do. You know, basically, we've got a pen point and some other shape points to do some things with. But if we use the pen point, you could do something like this. You know, you could do the detail, and I've used a rubber stamp, okay? Here I've taken a rubber stamp. So that means you can use any pattern that you put on the card. You could draw it, let's say with a permanent pen, or a rubber stamps is just a good example. And then you want to protect the image, And so what you're going to want to do always, and I had it right here in front of me a second ago, and now I don't see it because I just used it. Huh, here it is, it's hiding over here. So you're going to want to cover your project to start off with some clear wax. Okay, the reason for this clear wax is nothing more than to put a coating over the image. Okay, so you have a coating of clear wax over the image. So what that means is that when you want to do some background of the pattern, you'll be able to not have to worry so much about the pigmentation of the wax covering up your pattern, because it'll turn the color less pigmented so that you can see your pattern through the wax. And that's all you want to be able to do. You want to be able to see that pattern so that you could then take your stylus and begin to color it in. So whatever you're going to want to do color-wise on this pattern is just something that you're going to then take the stylus and start coloring it in so that you get the desired look. And that's basically the stylus pen point is used for doing detail. And you're probably not going to be able to want to get very far without having that pen point. Let's say we had this other point that we have available. It's like a small little iron. So great for doing, let's say, some designs. You know, let's say you're doing some of these desert plants. You know, just to be able to quickly paint in plants like that. You could put some ocotillos in like that by going up, then coming back down later, putting some little branches on each one of the stems. But this little point I find is my favorite little point to work with, because it lets you do so many nice little designs that the more you work with it, you know, you might, let's say you were doing, let's see, let's get over here just on a card without much on it. So, you know, let's just say you had a stem coming up and you were going to come over and then do something like this to get a look like that, you know, where you want to do some kind of a plant look. All kinds of things you can do with this pen point. Just have to play with it. So we're not going to get into great detail. I just want to give you a quick overview on some things. Okay, so pen points, all the different points. You can put a little sun in the sky with a circle like that, but sticking it down. There are little brushes that you can use with a hot pen point. So there's that. I wanted to show you those. There's something I'd like to show you that I just love this technique. Be quickie here. I call it Japanese ink painting. If you've seen that or liked it or wanted to learn that, it's not an easy thing to learn, but with an iron, it's absolutely so easy. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. What I do is that I take two sheets of two-ply Kleenex that's 2-ply, put two of them together, and I put a lot of wax into them. I take and I put a stripe of black, then I overlap that with a stripe of brown, then I overlap that with a stripe of green, until I get such a nice thick pad. Let it cool, and then you go to work. And this technique is sort of neat because you have to paint blind. You can't see what you're doing. So how in the world could you make a mistake? You just can't. So let's cover up our card like that. Let's take our iron, and now we're trying to make a mountain, okay? But now we can't see what we're doing, and sometimes you have to turn the iron up a little hotter to do this, but you have to take the point of the iron and press into the Kleenex, trying to push the wax through the Kleenex onto the card. So let's say we start here, and we say we're going to come down over here like that. And from here, we're going to come the other direction and go over here like that. And maybe something down a lower part like that. Now, we don't know what we've got, so we got to take a peek. We may not have anything. Let's see what we've got going. Well, we got a little bit going, but not much. So let's go back and just do this a little bit more over here and a little bit more over here. Maybe come in the middle. Let's take another peek. Okay, much better. I'm going to come a little more over here like that. All right, a little bit more on the other side. Okay, like that. A little more, please. A little more over here. Okay, so this is going to give you an idea, anyway, of what I'm talking about. So this is what we've got. Okay, you start with that look. Then you take your finger. And if this gets too cool, you heat up the pad a little bit here, make your surface warm, put the card back down, and then you begin to take your card and you start smearing the wax, okay? Just like that. Might get a little bit more. This again is not perfect. I wouldn't tout that as a perfect example, but it gives you an idea of what you can do with this method of pushing wax through the Kleenex, because you get a texture and you get something that you can't get with just putting the iron down alone. And so you have to experiment with a little bit, but you can get some really great looks. Another thing you can do is a design where you put 2 rocks in a pond, and that's another little pattern. But to try to do this and experiment with using this method to get different kinds of hills and mountains is a great little project to work with. So I wanted to show you that. I thought I would do one other thing here to show you, and maybe we'll wrap this thing up. It's a real quick overview. There's some other things I can get back and add to this video later. I think maybe working on a hot pancake griddle would be kind of fun. So we'll do that at a later date. But right now, let's just try to do this project. This one always takes clear wax to start with. Okay, so you need to get some clear wax on your card. That is what they call a carrier layer. You're going to need that clear wax down as a carrier layer. So then we're going to put a little color on the background. Just do a little of this type of thing. Here's some green. I'm just going to just stamp a little bit on the background here, like this. Okay. Just to get a little texture in the background. Okay, like that. Possibly touch more of a little green. Okay, good enough. So then on top of this, we're going to want to add some colors. So let's grab this color and put a little blob of that color right there. And let's put this color right here. And again, let's drop some of it over here. All right. Then onto that, here, let's put a little of this color in here. A little of that next to it. Okay. And let's see, next to those, what should we grab? What should we grab? How about a dark, here, let's put this dark color here. A little blue. Okay. So I'm going to add some of that into the mix. Oh, don't tell me I don't have any. Shoot, I don't have to have it, but I like to have, and I didn't bring it here. Okay, so I always like to have a little drop of silver there. Oh, I could try gold, but gold isn't the same. But we'll put some of that in there. We'll put it there. I definitely like the silver. Silver runs pretty quick, okay? So, okay, now let's take a little, I thought I had myself plugged in here. Maybe I don't. Oh, I guess I don't have myself plugged in. Well, let's try that. Let me get myself plugged in here. Okay. So let's get a little heat going. I like this gun because you can dial in the heat to where you want it. But let's just get a little of this going. Maybe a little hotter. These are, let's face it, doing stuff live is always crazy because it doesn't turn out the way you want, but we're going to go with it anyway. Okay, so here we go. We're going to do a little of this. We're going to do a little of that. I'm going to come around like that. Okay, here's another one. And another one like that. And we'll grab a little green. And we'll come down like that. Okay. Come up here with a little leaf pattern. Like that. Okay. Then we're going to grab the iron. And just do a couple quick little taps like this. Now we have a little fantasy flower thing. Granted, these are not the greatest examples, but again, you get the idea of what I'm talking about. Okay, you know, this is a real quick overview. I hope you guys got a little idea about what I do with wax. And you can always shoot questions to me. Be glad to answer anything. And I will get out a hot plate at some point and show you a little bit about working on larger pieces of paper and cardstock using a hot plate. But maybe this, you know, get you started. How's that? Talk to you later. It's been fun. It's been so great to be a part of this little tribe, and I enjoy it so much. Nice to share with you. Bye-bye.